Tēnā koutou e te iwi. Ha ki te ha, manawa ki te manawa. Tihei mauri ora. Kia rongo koutou ki te reo irirangi or Tune Me In podcast. Welcome, Peter, to the Tune Me In podcast and also the final day of the Mensa Conference. Now, just to get started, for the listeners at home who have no idea who you are, can you just tell us a little bit about your background and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure. Ko Peter O'Connor toku ingoa, ko Ngāti Pākehā te iwi, ko Tamaki Makaurau Ahau, ko ahorangi o Waipapa Taumata Rau, the University of Auckland. I'm a father, a grandfather, Pākehā, male, no longer young. I surf, I play, I write. I've got lots of friends, good friends that I've had for a long time. So those are the important things to me. I've been married for nearly 45 years. That's really important. And as I said in Te Reo Māori, I'm a professor at the University of Auckland and I co-direct the Centre for Arts and Social Transformation.
Okay, and what faculty is that in?
It's in the Faculty of Arts and Education.
Okay. Cool. Yep, nice one. I'm in the Faculty of Arts and Education too.
Well, there you go.
I think it's a good place to be. And we have a beautiful new building.
Yes, apparently.
And they have a great cafe with good coffee. So.
They do have good coffee. I'm not in that building.
Yeah, well, maybe you can visit sometime.
I will.
Yeah. So, as you said, professor at Auckland Uni. What does that entail?
I profess. And at one level it is that. I research and I use my research, and it's all applied research, and by that I mean that I make and create alongside others projects which we then research, and at the heart of that is arts-based research and arts research modalities, but it's also researching the arts and the potential for the arts to bring about social transformation. So that's the work that we do. We've been a research centre for about 5 or 6 years. We have everybody who works in the centre as an artist and an academic. So we are involved in a whole range of projects nationally and internationally looking at the possibilities of the arts to make the difference in the world.
Okay, that sounds really cool. Like, that must be the most fun job.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool job, really. It is. I sometimes do initial teacher education work, but not very often. Basically, for a number of years, I've been working on national and international research projects.
Nice one. And does that cross over into the education space very often?
Yeah, so one of the big projects that I was involved in was establishing Mighty through the Sir John Kirwan Foundation. So I worked and led a team that developed an arts-based approach to mental health education in primary schools, and that runs in 300 schools throughout Aotearoa, and that's a long-running project, so I've been involved in that and still working on that. And during COVID, we created a resource called Te Rito Toi, and I led the development of that, which was around how you use the arts when children return after crisis. And so that had a really significant international uptake, 500,000 downloads in 114 countries around the world. And most recently, we've just adapted and changed that so that it's arts ways back for 3 and 4 year olds after traumatic events. So we've developed a whole early childhood package, and we have artists and academics who are working on that. And I've spent much of my life in the last 15 years working in disaster zones using the arts. So I've just finished a book with my daughter called Applied Theatre and the Perma Crisis. So that's what professors do, they write books. And I've written I think I've written 11 or 12 of my own books and have over 100 publications in the arts. So, yeah, it's a new book which looks at how the arts exist across all stages of disaster. And that's based on work that I've done and a lot of work I did in Christchurch after the earthquakes, but I've also worked in Mexico City, I worked in China after earthquakes, I worked in Hawaii on Maui after the fires, I worked in the fires after in Sydney and in Melbourne. And then most recently, I think, developed programs that ran in Tairāwhiti, which was using the arts again after the horrendous floods. So that's the work.
So the word perma-crisis, is that like a permanent crisis?
Yeah, it was actually the Webster Dictionary Word of the Year in 2023, and it describes an understanding that we never actually get to post-disaster anymore. We live in a world where traumas are layered on top of each other. So how do we survive? How do we move beyond survival into flourishing at a time when there's just a never-ending crisis? So if you think, for example, can you remember the crisis in Libya last year? 200,000 people died in floods. You see, we've moved on. We've forgotten. Do you know what happened on Maui? No. You see, we had Lahaina burned to the ground. You know, there is so much, so constant as the planet destroys itself, or we as humans destroy the planet, that, you know, the floods in Texas is, you know, this week, but they were. Do we remember the floods in Mississippi a year ago? And so it's constant. And the permacrisis also sits in at a time of rampant capitalist greed, which has created, you know, a version almost of medieval serfdom for most of the planet, as wealth is sucked up into the hands of very few who seem to be driving, or not seem to, but are driving a form of rampant greed and capitalism, which creates its own crisis as well. So this notion that there's not just one crisis but multiple crises, and so that's just played out. So what we're interested in the research we're doing is what's the possibility for the arts. And the book, I think, is, you know, I wrote it with my daughter. She led much of that work around what is it that we might learn from, she's Māori, whakapapas to the north, but she wrote that actually societies have always used the arts as a way of living, not after crisis, because we can't ever seem to get to after, but in through crisis. How might the arts help us? So the book talks about the importance of AI, but AI not as artificial intelligence, but as ancestral information. So actually the solutions to many things is not about looking forward, it's about looking back to how societies have managed through more holistic arts-making processes, which are central to survival.
So perhaps with the new communication technologies, we're aware of all the disasters happening across the globe at any one time. But there's nothing to say that these things weren't happening in the past before we could know about it.
Yes and no. We know in terms of scale and rapidity of events that the last 15 to 20 years has seen, and I'm not going to give you the figures because I haven't got them in my head, but you know, we used to talk about once in 100-year floods. Well, those once in 100-year floods happen every. Ask the people of Wairoa how many 1 in 100-year floods I've had. You know, Texas, the floods in Texas, you know, it's you know, the silly women in the White House talked about it being an act of God. It's not an act of God at all. It's an act of humanity, that you destroy a planet. You refuse to accept that climate change is real. You bury science and you pay, they don't pay the price, but people pay the price. You know, you dismantle weather stations and weather systems, and you do that so that you can feed the greed of billionaires and trillionaires. There's a consequence for that. If you know, the climate-induced disasters and the speed at which they are happening is real. It's not about whether we're finding out more about it in terms of what's happening.
Just to continue the idea of the arts playing a role and how we kind of process these things and how we communicate them to each other. Last year, I saw a play called Scenes from the Climate Era that was really powerful. So they talked about it not being a climate event, but a climate era. So it goes beyond just this one moment. And potentially we won't even see the end of it. It'll be our descendants who get to see the end of the climate era before it turns into something new. And they told the story through little vignettes, little moments. They went right back in time to the first inklings of climate change, of the first warning signs. They had little vignettes from present day, and they forecast right out into the future, where people were dying because of this, where you couldn't step outside into the street because it was 50 degrees and people were trying to get to shelter and they'd die from heat stroke on the way. Horrific moments.
It's not far off there in Europe at the moment.
It's scary.
It is scary, and we're not, the arts aren't a panacea or placebo. They are the ways, I think they are tools for survival, and we've always used tools for survival through the arts, especially when confronted by events that turn our world upside down or heat us to the point that we can't live.
Yeah. But they did have a bit of hope at the end of the play, in that maybe generations down the line, they said with the sea levels rising, we won't have beaches anymore. At some point, the beaches will all be underwater.
Yeah.
So when our descendants can stand on a beach, that will be the end of the climate era.
Yeah, well, maybe, Kant says hope is a moral obligation, and doesn't mean I'm particularly optimistic about the future, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
I remain hopeful, because without hope, there's nothing.
And the things that we do now will have ripple effects down the line for our descendants. And I think about my son, 21 years old, this November. He's going to be an adult in this world.
Yeah. I did a lot of work well, not a lot of work. I did quite a bit of work on Maui at the Maui Arts and Cultural Centre. And they all wear, not all, but a lot of them wear a T-shirt which says, be a good ancestor. And that's the ultimate responsibility I think we have as humans. We're just part of a whakapapa, part of a lineage. And all you can be, really, is be that.
Yeah, exactly. And we're here as the result of our ancestors, everything they've overcome and struggled through.
They certainly travel with us. And it's part of being alive. What is it? In Waiting for Godot, I can't remember who it is. He looks out the window and he says, what do you see? Pain. Ah, good. Then you're alive.
Yeah.
Well, that was cheerful.
It was. But even though it was maybe a little bit gloomy, just as we're talking, we're always referencing artistic works and how they can maybe say things clearly and succinctly, the feelings that we have.
Yeah, I mean, it's the great joy for me in discovering poetry and music and the visual arts was to find other humans who have felt what I have felt, thought what I have thought, and expressed it in a way that moves me to think it differently, to see it afresh in new ways. The importance of the arts in schools is absolutely in the making, but it's also in the knowing about the arts and having that richness of experience. In the talk this morning, I talked about, my first year teacher playing Chopin to us as a 5-year-old. Now, that stayed with me for forever. I don't know how that gets counted or measured in our system where everything has to be counted, but the value of that and the importance of that is just enormous. And I might have been 30 before I realised it was Chopin. I just loved that tinkly music.
Yeah.
And then going, oh my God. So I listened to as a kid.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It still is.
Yeah, so just thinking along that path, you used to be a drama teacher, so you were in classrooms with students. That idea of exposing them to things that they might not find on their own versus, or maybe in negotiation with, student-led, student interest.
There's a false dichotomy, which is that either it's student-led or teacher-led, but actually it's a combination of both. Dorothy Hethker, was my mentor and guide in so many different ways. She says genuine learning happens when what children bring and what a teacher brings together make something that was unknown before. And you see that in music in classrooms all the time. You see it in dance and drama. I'm not in a classroom. I'm not just a facilitator. I'm a teacher. I'm an old-fashioned teacher in that I have a body of knowledge and experience and theatre making that I bring and with children, but it's about finding the space for them to co-create and to make. And I think that's absolutely vital. My problem with where we're moving, especially in primary schools in this country, is that kids are just receptacles. Where they're pouring stuff into them and then testing them, and often in decontextualized kinds of a way, that doesn't sit in the richness of life.
Yeah.
It seems to me schools are kind of moving at a clip back towards factories. This government said they take the country back. Well, they are.
Yeah.
Pretty clear. I don't think there's been a time, and I've been teaching and involved in arts education for a long time. I don't think there's been a time as difficult as now for arts education in this country. And there's a whole range of reasons for that. But being a creative and imaginative teacher as well has got harder.
Well, I think there's a lot of weight on teachers' shoulders, and it's heavy, and that does suck your energy a lot.
Yeah, and a sense of being watched and not being trusted and constantly being told that you're not doing a good job and we're going to fix education as if it's broken. That language is, and it's been around. I remember John Key was, a teacher basher. I love bashing teachers. Luxon's not so bad. He's just a bit of a non, really. So, but that kind of anti-teacher, and somehow they got to fix something that was broken, plays into a whole kind of discourse about schools which is dishonest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just thinking about the kind of economy we're preparing our students to enter. There was a buzzword around the knowledge economy a while back. Are we actually stepping back into, we're actually preparing our students to become factory workers?
Poorly paid factory workers, a low wage economy. I mean, this government's made no pretense that's what they want. But an economy that's shrinking, where just this kind of, the country feels like it's shrinking in my head. It's like this austerity over everything. We can't afford anything anymore. Although apparently we can afford billions for military. I really do believe, though, that, and I've been around long enough to know that the tide comes in and the tide goes out, and this lot will go out.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we just have to catch the wave again.
And it's an ongoing cycle on into eternity.
God, yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of education jargon that's just nonsense, really.
Yeah.
Science of learning, really.
One piece of jargon that's been talked about on conference is the knowledge-rich curriculum. Now, I saw Graham's workshop the other day, and he was talking about how the knowledge-rich curriculum, we don't have a shared understanding of those words.
No,
the way the government is using it and the way that Graham understands it are poles apart.
Yep.
And so we're having conflict, but the thing we're arguing about, we don't even have that shared language.
No, I was briefly involved with I was very heavily involved with the curriculum refresh for the arts under the previous government, and then this lot came in, and what they're doing, where there's slogans like science of learning and knowledge-rich curriculum. I never met, when I was on the curriculum refresh, a single person in the ministry who had a clue what knowledge-rich curriculum was. It was just chucked.
Yeah.
And basically it was chucked to say, in schools you got it wrong forever, there wasn't enough knowledge, and it was all skills-based and competency-based, and now we're bringing knowledge back.
Yeah.
And then there's all sorts of different kinds of knowledge, and I seriously haven't met anyone in the ministry who has a clue what that means.
Yeah.
I don't think the minister does. Do you?
No.
But it's chucked around,
And I think with the secrecy surrounding the curriculum rewrite, people are anxious that it's going to be a list of prescriptive things that teachers need to teach.
Yep. And that's what we used to call a syllabus rather than a curriculum.
Yeah.
It's kind of, and I actually think when the people who are running the curriculum refresh, I don't think they know the difference particularly between a syllabus and a curriculum.
Yeah, they're probably just synonyms for each other.
I don't think they are. They're two very different things. So, I don't know. As I say, as Bob Dylan says, these things come with the dust and they're gone with the wind. And this too will pass.
Yes, indeed. Now, just speaking with you and hearing you talk earlier, I can tell that you've had a very rich education and that you can think back to beautiful artworks that have shaped you as a person. Are they saying that a knowledge-rich curriculum is giving students access to those beautiful treasures?
To be honest, I don't know. I tend to do a glaze over. Life is too short to kind of pay too much attention to it.
Yeah.
And it sounds awful, but I mean, really?
Yeah. There was a question in the keynote this morning around, what can we do? What's our first steps? And one of your answers was around being a disobedient teacher, just shutting your classroom door and getting on with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think we have to at one level. Have to trust our professionalism, the fact that we know what needs to happen in classrooms. They're bringing textbooks back, for God's sake.
Yeah. That was my maths education, just sitting in a classroom, working through the problems in the maths textbook. I used to love that.
Teachers standing at the front directly instructing people and then testing whether or not they got the direct instruction right, and then using a whole range of dubious research to suggest that that's a really, I was at a conference last week where it was a drama conference and they were talking about structured literacy, and there are 5 and 6-year-olds sitting watching PowerPoints. Like, what?
Yeah. I used to be a new entrance teacher, and no, we did not do that.
No, and we should not be doing. There's no research, there's no evidence to suggest you stick a 5-year-old in front of a PowerPoint for hours, getting them to spell out letters is good pedagogy. And they can pretend all they like that that's not happening in schools, but I see it all the time. I see a narrowing of the curriculum. Hours and hours and hours of spelling out letters.
Yeah.
It's mind-numbing.
Yeah.
And I worry about teachers. God almighty, why would you want to do that with kids?
No, I'm sure that's not why anybody went through the teacher training.
I don't think so. But there's an orthodoxy around it now.
Yeah.
The minister said that we all learn the same, all brains are the same, and you go, really?
Yeah. No. I think we all know that they're not.
Clueless. Really, just clueless.
It might go back to that accountability. If I have a slideshow that I can show you, that I have done my planning, I'm prepared for this class, here is my slideshow.
I know.
Yeah.
Why would you stick 5-year-olds in front of PowerPoints?
No, definitely not. I don't think so.
One level, just get the slates back out.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a good slate and
There's
chalk.
nothing wrong with a good slate and a bit of chalk. You're not wrong. Oh, dear. Yeah, the factory model is back.
Yeah. I think if we actually asked our politicians, is that what they're aiming for? Are their aspirations for our children that low? They wouldn't agree.
I think it centres around the distrust of the profession.
Yeah, and that's the secrecy.
Yeah, they don't trust us. And they probably shouldn't.
But for teachers who have been around the block a few times, governments come, governments go.
Oh, yeah, and this lot will.
Yeah. That's the other big question I have, because I've been teaching for 15-ish years, but I've been through all the sectors. I've done early childhood, primary and secondary. I tend to move around, and I've done English and now I'm teaching music. How do you sustain yourself in one place?
For me, it's the joy of teaching, and it's why I really struggle when it's just reduced to a science. It's not, it's an art. It's joyful. Making drama, making music, making art with kids, making it in disaster zones. I get to be an amazing artist. No one recognises it, no one knows it, no one values it, but in the moment of the making, it's absolutely joy-filled and it's just wonderful. I don't feel the most alive I feel as a person is when I'm working with 5, 6 and 7-year-olds and doing theatre. It's magic. My God almighty. What a lucky life. I've done it for 40 years.
Yeah.
I spent most of my life playing.
Yeah.
And if you are playful and you work in the arts, you are disobedient. You can't not be. The arts are always resistant
Yeah.
to the prescribed ways of being in the world. Artists by their nature don't fit in. Arts educators don't. They try and fit in to schools, but they don't really. And one of the wonderful things, especially in secondary schools, kids who don't fit in, where do they go to? They go to music, they go to dance, they go to drama, they go to the visual arts, because that's where they can be.
Yeah.
And, that's vital stuff. It's good stuff.
Oh, completely.
We're good to have. Nice to have.
Nice to have. Oh, goodness. I feel like there should be some regret over saying that publicly.
Oh, there probably is. Someone spoke the truth.
Yeah.
You don't do that in politics, do you?
No. Now, the other thing you said in response to that question was this idea around, is what we're offering our students, does it matter? And does it let them know that they matter?
Yeah.
And I love that as a bottom line, especially with NCEA, the standards.
Yep.
And we might design a task, but I think to myself, what is actually the bottom line? What is the assessment actually asking for? And you can do it however you want. Because quite often we can do a prescriptive task and the student's just not vibing with it and they want to do it differently. And I can say yes to that because the bottom line is something else. And I know that's probably not what you meant by what matters, but
no.
To our students, the credits matter.
Yeah, credits matter, and schools obviously have a role in preparing kids for employment and those things. So it's not about, and again, it's not an either or. But here's the thing that really bugs me when someone is silly enough to say the purpose of schooling is academic achievement. If you don't achieve academically, and lots of kids don't and never will, they still matter. And they need to know they matter, that they haven't failed school.
Yeah.
If you don't get NCA level 2 in maths, really?
Yeah.
I work in a university with highly educated people and most of them aren't very successful in their lives. How do you judge success in life? Well, my father used to always say a successful person in life is someone who gives more than they get.
Yeah.
A successful person is someone who is loved and loves and cares, is honest, truthful, loyal.
Yeah.
Those are the markers of success, not money or or a certificate from the university or wherever. And so, this notion that achievement and then it gets reduced to literacy and numeracy and all of that, that's a nonsense. And the nonsense that achievement is individual.
Yeah.
I'm a highly educated person. I have a PhD. I'm a professor at a university. I did not do that on my own.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the visible people behind the scenes.
Oh my God, there are my ancestors. There's my relationships. There's so much that And am I any more successful as a human because I'm a professor? No, it's not. When you ask me who I am, it was the last thing I introduced myself as. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I'm a brother. I'm a neighbour.
Yeah.
I'm a member of my community. I'm a member of my church. I'm a member of those things. That's what defines me.
And that's how the English language works. It's a series. We're defined by our relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, we all are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not separated out. Teaching and learning is complex. It's messy. It's full of ambiguity. It should be joy-filled.
Yeah.
And the danger when we go into these kind of catchphrases of knowledge-rich curriculums and science of learning and direct instruction, it's just like, oh, leave us alone. Let us just get on with what we know we do really well.
Yeah, well, we've all got at least one degree over here as teachers.
At least one.
At least one. Yeah, if you're a primary school teacher, then you've got your Bachelor of Teaching.
Yeah.
Secondary teachers have got a subject degree and then a postgrad dip teacher.
But it is about trust. It's about trusting the professionalism of teachers and principals.
Yeah.
To know what's best to do in their communities. And that seems to that's been eroded over many years,
That was the joy of local curriculum is leveraging the opportunities of this space with these people and doing something that meant something to the people who inhabited those areas.
And, the other thing about curriculum is that there are multiple curriculums, and I just think of, so there's the national curriculum, there's a local curriculum, there's the notion of negotiated curriculum, which was Garth Boomer's idea that curriculum is always negotiated. It's not a piece of pizza that you deliver. My granddaughter started school this year, and she is a young woman of colour. And the most important, on her first day, she identifies partly in terms of Māori. The principal, the tūmawaki of her school, is Māori. And we had a whakatau, and she came up to me and she said, "Did you meet our tūmawaki?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "She's Māori, she's a woman, and she's the boss of everything here."
Yeah.
So the hidden curriculum might be the most important thing she learned this year, I think, as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Is that you can be that.
Yeah.
And you can be the boss.
Oh, completely. That's awesome.
So I don't know. I mean, she could read before she went to school, so the poor kid has to sit there and spell stuff out endlessly. She quite enjoys it. I mean, I think she finds it quite funny. But that, in terms of learning, the other things, see, if we don't have the arts in schools, the hidden curriculum around that, Elliot Eisner calls that the null curriculum. What's not there?
Yeah.
So we learned for years Te Reo Māori didn't count. New Zealand history didn't count.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't there. And what our kids learn when there's no arts is that the arts don't count.
Yeah.
The arts don't matter. They're not important.
Yeah, it's just a bit of fun.
Just a bit of fun, or it might be useful to improve literacy.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was a primary school teacher, we would do an hour of art, like on an afternoon.
Yeah.
And some of the students really loved this thing where they'd watch YouTube tutorials and it would guide you line by line to recreate something. And that just hurt me. I couldn't stand it because to me, that's not art.
No, it's not.
if art or music, drama, dance is just ways of expressing or processing your own thoughts and emotions to create something, then just copying the lines
Doesn't do that. No.
But there's an element of security and safety in doing it right and getting the praise that children enjoy.
They do. Are we done?
I think we are. So, final thought.
Final thought.
What's your takeaway message for our music educators out there?
The work that music educators do in New Zealand schools is absolutely vital, especially now. You know, in primary schools, it's about just symbols. Kids deserve to know how to clap in time with others, to sing with others, to recognise what a music instrument is, to be able to hold it in their hands and make beautiful sounds. I mean, all of those things should be there. And that music teachers in secondary schools, what you do in terms of providing a space for kids who want to be different in the world by making music is so important. And it feels harder and harder. I think teaching is an act of faith. And hold on to the faith.
Perfect. Great way to end. Thank you so much, Peter.
You're welcome.
Nā mihi whakanuia kia Bradley me te whare crescendo. Nā mihi anō kia Lions Foundation mō te putia tautoko. E te iwi, ko Jessica tēnei, mā te wā.